psychometric test. All of us know what a psychometric test is. There are 25 minutes. Descriptive test, there are 4 questions, and you have 70 marks, and time given is 25 minutes. Okay. Now, convergent, divergent thinkings. The standard questions are there: direction, analogy, series, odd one out, blood relation. Verbal ability, fill in the blanks, analogy, odd one out, error, para completion, para summary. So basically, the standard type of paper was there. If you see if anyone has written the previous year paper, they know what kind of paper it is. In LR, or I would say divergent convergent thinking, the number of questions that were doable were 10 to 12. It is anyhow a time consuming paper. So verbal ability, it is 12 to 13. In QA, that is 7 to 8. These are easy questions I'm talking about. There are a lot moderate questions as well. And GK, there are 10 questions. And the GK of MICAT is all about, I would say, that is brand and companies. So they always ask about taglines. What is the logo of a company? So their GK is not GK, it is business GK. That how who's doing brand endorsements and those kind of things. Now, in descriptive test, this was there: employment, engagement, transition from only a traditional paper, traditional employer-employee relation, and these kind of things. 3 arguments listing negative outcomes, arguments positive outcomes. Discuss 3 ways. So basically, this is very subjective. You have to type your thought process, and they are going to judge you on that. And there are 4 photos, and you have to arrange the photos, as well as you have to write a story on the 4 photos. And this type of question, descriptive one, has always been common throughout the years. So now, this is verbal.
Hello. Hi, Shashank.
Hello,
Hi,
ma'am.
guys. So, all of you who are here, hi, and welcome to MICAT analysis. So, if you look at the paper today, I think it was a very interesting paper. One, because generally MICAT has a lot of varied options in the verbal section at least, and this time it did not. So, all the questions had a standard 4 option pattern. So, that was the interesting thing. Other than that, the interesting thing about MICAT was that there were RCs and there were 3 RCs. Generally, MICAT does not give you these many RCs. So that was an interesting break from the previous years. If you look at it, there were 3 passages. One of them, of course, was very doable, very easy to do, which was the kangaroo and the reproductive ability passage. So there were 3 questions in that, about 150 words, and all 3 questions were fairly doable. If you look at the other 2 passages, the intellectual labor passage and the urban living and how cafes figure out in that, both these passages were slightly more on the difficult side. So the intellectual labor was about a moderate to difficult sort of a passage. There was 1 question on vocabulary, there was 1 question on inference there. The vocabulary question was okay, quite doable. Now, if you look at the last passage, which was the urban living and how cafes figure out in that, that was a longish passage, around 650 words, which is, let's understand, if you've been thinking and preparing for CAT, we've been practicing around 450 to 550 words in length. So this was a 650 word passage. So that was the interesting thing, longish passage with 5 questions, and the questions were difficult. There was one inference except, there was a general inference question. So definitely काफी different था from the other papers. So all 3 reading comprehensions, the first passage, which is this the intellectual labor one, you could have done that vocabulary question. The kangaroo passage, all three, and the urban living, you would have been able to do around 2 questions. So that would be your doables. Out of the 10 reading comprehension questions, about 6 questions you could have done, right? Now, if we go to the next page, Shashank, can you just take us to the next page? The vocabulary and the grammar was very interesting. Why was it interesting? Because there was a lot less vocabulary than generally in MICAT. So that was the interesting part of it. Shashank, हमें next page पे ले जाओगे क्या? Thank you. Yes. Yeah. पीछे. My bad. On the previous page only. Yes. So if you look at this page now, there was one fill in the blank, there was one word substitution, there was one error identification, there was one analogy question, and there was one odd sentence, one para jumble, and one para completion question. Now, the fill in the blank, which is the closure, which is a traditional question in MICAT, we've had it every year, but previous years we've had greater number of the fill in the blank questions. This year there was just one, and it was a difficult, sorry, there were 3 questions, but of these only one was a doable one, because the words that you had to fill in were very difficult. It was not at all easy to do these questions. So therefore, fillers, which we generally say are difficult in MICAT, stood their standard. Word substitution was sort of moderate. The error identification question, where there was a part of the sentence which was underlined and you had to identify if that was correct, or if you had to take one of the other substitute portions and fill it up. So that was a slightly moderate sort of question. The analogy again was a moderate question, so that could have been done. The odd sentence, there were 2 questions of odd sentence, which were moderate to difficult sort of a question. So if you're looking at the English section, it is definitely, I feel, slightly more difficult than the previous years, because because there's a lot of RC. 2, the vocabulary questions also were not very doable. In the last year, if you notice, previous years, if you've noticed, there were questions on idioms which were there were questions on phrasal verbs which were there, तो वो काफी doable होते थे. इस बार vocabulary बहुत strong हो गई है और बहुत मतलब उसमें doable questions कम हो गए. So that is the interesting thing. Shashank, can we go to the next page, please? Thank you. पैरा समरी एंड पैरा कंप्लीशन, एक पैरा कंप्लीशन का क्वेश्चन था, एक पैरा समरी था, एंड अगेन दोनों ही मॉडरेट डिफिकल्ट थे. सो आउट ऑफ द 10 क्वेश्चंस that were there, around 6 to 7 questions you could have done, but please understand that these questions are not easy at all. जैसा कि MICAT का पैटर्न है, वो कभी भी easy नहीं कह सकते हैं. Solvable होते हैं, you take a bit of time and you solve, you will be able to solve them, but not like a cakewalk type of a question की फटाक से देखा और फटाक से solve कर लिया. That was definitely not there in the verbal ability section. All right, so अब आगे चलते हैं यार, शशांक.
Okay, so let's move on to the next section. So basically, in the next section, if we are going to talk about, let's say this one. So in divergent and convergent thinking, there are some questions that has been easy, that has been difficult. It is more or less as compared to previous year. In the previous year, again, we got the similar type of things that you pick up a question and you feel like you can do it. Now it is going to take a lot of time. Fine. So whenever you see these kind of questions, you are always confused in this. So the thing is, solving a lot of question in this exam is not easy, because the time limit is 80 minutes, and in 80 minutes you can maximize your score in couple of sections, and in couple of sections your job is to clear the cutoff. So
Correct.
when you go with clear the cutoff, then I think you are able to get into MICAT. In MICAT, the thing is you need to get 80 percentile in CAT, and once you get the 80 percentile in CAT, and after that you write MICAT, and everything is dependent on MICAT exam. So the first
Yeah, the weightage of
condition,
MICAT is around 35% in the selection criteria.
yes,
So
yes,
it has a
yes,
big weightage.
right. So okay, so let me start with my section. Mhm. Now, number analogy, that is divergent and convergent thinking. Number analogy was a easy paper, easy question. So where we can solve the question easily in less time. Coding decoding has always been easy, but it takes quite a while because your job is to convert alphabets into numbers and see the pattern. But this time it is easy. Data sufficiency, there are two questions. Both of them were moderate. Both of them were doable. But in the exam, if I'm solving, I am going to solve only one question because both questions are time consuming. So I'm going to solve one. I'm going to leave one later. Word associations, there are three questions. If I am going to see overall difficulty of three questions, that is going to be, I'm going to consider that two are difficult, one are easy, and
Yeah, the word associations always are pretty difficult in MyCat. Because to
yes,
find the connection is very difficult. If you think that it's the easy connections, it's never easy. Even last year they were very difficult, and this time also to look at the connection is very, very difficult. Once you've located, then it is, of course, you feel it is a cakewalk, but it's actually very difficult to find the connection because the connection is not generally very straightforward. That's the problem with the word association questions.
right. And I think you need to know the meaning of every word as well.
Exactly, but still वो एक जैसे जो Google Facebook वाला question है, which is very very tricky and very typical.
Right. So basically, you need to know what companies are doing actually that in that field, and what is a common factor among all the companies. So, uh, 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 and then I'm not sure. I've seen that question, and I'm sure I don't know how to go about it. What is a common factor among all the companies? So this is the problem I faced in a lot of questions. Now let's see other kind of questions. I got a mirror image question, statement conclusion. Okay, so I got blood relation question. So what is blood relation question? Blood relation question was I would say easy. Blood relation questions are always easy. You can just easily solve them. Think much. It is going to take 1.5 minutes. Uh, but other type of question we got as paper folding. Paper folding was not doable. You, it is a moderate question, but it is going to take a lot of imagination. Direction sense is easy, doable. Linear arrangement, it is difficult but not doable. Sorry, I have written it doable, but it's not doable because it is going to waste a lot of time. Statement reasoning, that's your question, ma'am.
Again, the statement reasoning question was Shashank, not a very easy question to do because what I have realized here is that these questions are generally very tricky to solve. So, so my thought pretty difficult to solve.
And direction sense is easy. Okay. Miscellaneous, have you seen the miscellaneous one?
The syllogism questions were actually tricky here, Shashank. I don't know where we've written them, the logical conclusion ones. So these questions were syllogisms, but they had given the conclusion first, and then they had asked which of the pair of the statements would lead you to this conclusion. So this was a tricky question because to go from statement to the conclusion, that is to go from the premises to the conclusion, is easier, but to look at the conclusion and then step back and say which of the three statements will be the correct ones pair which will lead to that conclusion, this was a tricky question. So for anyone who's not very conversant with syllogisms would have found it slightly difficult to solve this question.
Okay. Now, uh, let's move on to the next one. What does it says? Quant. Now let's move to quant. Profit and loss. There are two questions. And I have not seen the
Yeah.
difficulty level as moderate in approximately every question, but every question is not doable. This is the rare scenario I have seen. Rishabh has asked, how is LOD? So LOD, I would say it is difficult, and the reason I am considering it as difficult because the questions are very lengthy, very, very, very lengthy. Questions are very lengthy, and the time you had is very less. So, which section you are going to start with? Are you going to start with verbal? You are going to start with GK. You are going to start with something else. So, that kind of thing, thinking of making that thought process and going about that, which question you are going to attempt first, which question you are going to attempt later. And Yash Rani is saying, how was the description part? So, description part was, I don't know. That's, I think, ma'am's subject. Ma'am will tell what is how was the description part.
The descriptive part of the passage, we can just go back to the page, Shashank, for a moment. Now, this was a very contemporary sort of a passage, because sort of set of questions, because of course this is what is happening to us right now. So if you look at the descriptive side, Shashank, please पीछे चलोगे क्या descriptive वाले पेज पे? Yes. So ये जो descriptive वाला question था, which asked you to identify three sets of uh, uh, points in favor, three against, and three in the managerial sort of a this thing, where you had to identify if employee engagement transitioning from a traditional employer employee relationship to a situation. So for example, what is it that it is asking? That jobs will no longer be permanent, and that it will become more of a gig economy or a contractual sort of a job. So people who are uh, for example, for people in my generation or my previous generation, knew that when they joined a company they would work with that company to the end of their careers. Now it is no longer so, because the employers do not want to have full-time employees. They would rather get freelancers or associates who would come in and do the work and move out of the company, so that the company also is very agile, very flexible, able to move very quickly, also does not have a big financial burden. So now the question asked you three negative outcomes of this sort of a business. So of course, because there is no job stability, there is financial this thing burdens on the people. There is a lot of mental health issues that will come. So you could have talked about all of that. There are loyalty issues, because a freelancer will never be loyal to the company. So you could have spoken about all of that. If you look at the positives of it, the company is much more agile. It is going to be faster in pace. It will be able to do many things, at a much faster pace than any other thing, right? So that flexibility will be very, very good. Then beyond that, if you look at this, there will be how else can it help, there will be more innovation that will happen. People will go for more entrepreneurship. There will be not much that the company will expect in terms of what the employee is bringing, so the entry barrier will become low for anyone. People will be able to do multiple things at the same time. So a lot of things that you could have said as positives also. Now you could have also, the third part of the passage was that what are the societal impacts of this shift that is happening. So your working style would change, the daily routines would change, the traditional retirement model that people will retire at the age of 58 or 60, or that they will retire, will go away. People will start building multiple streams of income. There will be families which will no longer have one person earning, because there will be no guarantee. Community formation, social behavior, socialization as a whole in organizations will become very less. So those things, there will be policy changes in terms of what is the government doing, what all the government can do. Labor laws will have to change, because if there are a lot more gig economy workers, contractual workers, the government will have to strengthen their position. So a lot of laws would have to change. So all of these are things that you could have written in the descriptive part of your essay. The picture part of it was a very interesting one, where you had to write a story. There were four photos which you could have which you had, and you needed to write a story based on that. So there was one pack of donkeys on the street, there were two cars which were in front of each other, there were two people in a cafe outdoor, and then there was some oil curry in a plate, and you had to create a story about it. So of course your story could have gone from whichever way. If I were writing a story, I would have said there are two people who were one day they met for a coffee, and then they decided to go for a vacation and go on a food tour, because they were both gastronomes. So they stepped out and they went around the country, and they had various foods in different places and something like that. So the story of course could have been anything. The thing to keep in mind in the story is that your grammar should be right, your vocabulary should be right, the sequence of the story should follow something, there should be a clear sequence in the story which you could have picked up, or you could have created your own story. You had to remember to number the sequences as you went along. So that was the descriptive part. Nice. I won't say it was very difficult. The topic is something that is very relevant right now, especially the gig economy and all of that. So that was something that should not have come out of the blue for anyone. So I hope I've answered Yash's question, right?
Yeah. One more person has asked, Vidhi has asked that she attempted 12 questions in VARC and DCT each, divergent and convergent thinking. Okay. And 8 questions in QA attempted, and although attempted 4 questions in GK, and she's sure that only 2 of them are right. Okay. Will she be able to convert? Vidhi, I think you have done extremely good job. The only place where I can be a little worried about is going to be your cutoff of GK. Apart from that,
Mm.
I think everything else is extremely good.
Yeah,
So
the two
12,
in the GK might be a little dicey, na Shashank?
that too with negative marking. So
Yeah,
I think that will
exactly.
be now. Let's move towards QA. So these kind of questions we had in QA. Arithmetic profit and loss, there are 2 questions. Only one question is doable in the exam. And the reason I'm saying doable, because it was short, it was not very lengthy to solve. Another question was, again, I won't say that was difficult, that was easy, or I would say moderate, but that was very lengthy. The mixture question again was very lengthy. Average question was moderate, but it I'm not sure I have written one doable, but the problem is again that was lengthy one. TSD, if you can think quickly, you can get the answer, but you have to spend a lot of time. Time and work was easy and doable in the time zone. Now, linear equation, it was, I would say it's little difficult. Numbers, there was one question that was easy. Quadrilateral, there are 2 questions, so one was easy, one was difficult. Set theory, one question easy. Modern maths, probability, no. And set progression, there was one question that was doable. And IT companies, there are two questions. If you want, you can solve both the questions and you can skip the last set, or I would say go for the pie chart one, pie chart and bar chart one. You can solve all four questions in, I would say, 7 to 8 or maybe 10 minutes. So the problem with the MICAT that I have seen always, they are not giving you difficult questions. They are giving you easy questions, but they are giving very, very, very lengthy questions. So
Yeah.
solving all the questions in the time frame that is 80 minutes becomes very tricky, or I would say very difficult. Now we have
Correct.
seen,
That you're very right, Shashank. Even in verbal or even in reasoning, the questions are not very difficult, but you have to work it out. So that
yes,
is the difficult part of the exam.
and because of that, and the worst part, they never release their cutoffs.
Correct.
So you don't know what is the good attempt, what is the bad attempt. But I have seen anyone who got 5 marks or 6 marks in each section, they have gotten through.
Yeah.
So uh, now this is a question, choose which numbers are related in same way, that is 8, 15, 22, 13, 23, 33, and four options are given. uh, uh, how we are going to solve it, I don't know. So I'm going to leave this question. Now I am going to move to this one again. It is convergent divergent thinking, Adobe, Velcro, Apple, Internet, and which associated with all five. Okay. uh, Band-Aid, okay, I don't know. Fevicol, I don't know. Xerox. So what kind of options are these? Should
They're
we be
very
solving these
strange
questions?
options, no?
Yes. So not at all, and find out the wrong number in this series. So basically, I think that can easily be solved by, we talk about differences. Whenever you get a question of series, always look for the differences. So if you look the difference here, that is 17, here it is 16, here it is what, 18, then what is the difference, that is 17, then what is the difference, that is 17. So basically there should be the difference of sorry, 18, then 17, then this difference should be 16, because 17, 16, 18, 17, 16, 18. So this is going to be the odd one out, or I would say wrong number. Now if you write down corresponding numbers to every alphabet, the answer is going to be very visible. But the problem, if you look at the question clearly, there are six questions, six options, and you have to check for every question. So this kind of things become very painful in the exam. Is it difficult? No. Is it doable? Yes. Is it moderate? Yes. But should you do it? I don't know. It depends on how much time you have left. Music, photos, study, mask, which is associated with all five options. Now, I
Now,
don't know
this one,
whether
I
we
think
have music language.
I tried to solve this, and my combination was coming like fridge should be the odd one out because the others form words. So, for example, there is disco music, right? There is photo,
Hmm.
there is gas mask, there is study maths, and there is photo lab, which form some sort of compound words. So probably, I'm not very sure because that is what I was thinking of, that this
No, the
should
question
have
is
been a
talking about,
combination.
it is saying choose which is associated with five options.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
So,
So my bad, huh? I was looking at which is not associated. For some reason, I was just looking at the question. I was like, okay, which of these is not associated? I don't know why I thought of it like that. Yeah.
okay, okay. Now, perform, timing, median, content. Again, which option is associated with all? So these kind of questions, and I don't know how to approach
Media.
these kind. Yeah, that is media.
Yeah, I think because median will be the one which is associated because all the words have media in common.
Hmm.
See,
So
that
hypermedia.
comedian, immediate, remediation, hypermedia, and medieval, all of them have media, media in common. So therefore, the only one that would work here would probably be median. Okay.
Ah, right, right, right. This one, and this is a very standard and easy question that combined present age of teacher plus twins is 94 years. So basically, you can say teacher's age is X and twins age is Y. So that is going to be 2Y. So first equation directly, you can say that X plus 2Y is equal to 94. 10 years ago, a teacher's age was X minus 10. A student's age was Y minus 10. Now you got two equations and two variables. You can solve and get the answer. So, but again, after that, you have to solve for this as well. So it is after you reach at this point, this has become a 2 minute question. So, uh, I don't know what to do. Now, this is a quadrilateral ABCD. AB is equal to 8, BC is equal to 6, CD is equal to 8, DA is equal to 10. And find the radius of the circle that touches all four sides. You draw the diagram and eventually you are going to get the answer. But uh, again, you have to work it out and it is going to take a lot of time. Now, this question says that in race, A beats B by 36 seconds, B beats C by 54 seconds. Speed of B is average speed of A, B, and C. Okay. So I am going to go by one general assumption that speed of A is 10, speed of C is C, and speed of B is B. And I know that B is equal to 10 plus C by 2. Okay. Now A beats B by 36 seconds. So let's say A covers the distance in T time, so 10 into T. B covers the same distance in T plus 36 seconds because B is taking 36 seconds more than A, and into 10 plus C by 2. Now C covers the same journey in after C is taking 54 seconds more. So that is going to be 90 seconds into C. So basically you can take this as first equation, you can take this as second equation, and you get two equations, two variables, you can solve it. But how much time you are going to take? 3 to 4 minutes. So would I be doing it? I don't know. Now, this question in a business of crockery sets, 10% gets damaged to 120% of uh, uh, um, profit. The selling price of 1200 should be equal to cost price of how many sets? Okay. And this is what I need. So, again, solving these questions is not easy. They take time. 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. But uh, I don't know. I get stuck in these kind of questions. The answer of this question is 1600. You solve it, you will get the answer. Now, company's logo, there were two questions. One is easy, one is doable. Again, this everything is dependent on. Uh, have you seen the
शशांक,
logos? Huh.
हाँ, 1 मिनट के लिए वापस जाओगे क्या? वो जो वेलक्रो गूगल वाला क्वेश्चन है.
Hmm.
So I was thinking of that question and I know
Hmm.
what the answer should be here. और पीछे है, I think. Google वाला
No,
question.
this is the
Yes,
question.
Walkman वाला. So इफ यू गो टू दिस, ये जो कंपनीज हैं, वॉकमैन है या गूगल है या ये जो है दीज, हाँ, सो Walkman, Google, Xerox, Fevicol, and Band-Aid, they started out as names of companies, but they have become generic names for products. So, for example, कोई भी glue होती है, हम कहते हैं Fevicol दे दो, या
Right,
कोई भी Band-Aid खरीदते हैं, कहते हैं Band-Aid दे दो, जबकि वो कुछ भी, it can be any company.
right,
Similarly, any movable music system was called a Walkman, whether Sony made it or somebody else made it. Same with
right,
Google,
right,
same with Xerox. Photocopying is not called photocopying, it's called Xerox. So
right.
these are all brands which became generics. So in that sense, Velcro is the one that is a brand, but it is also a generic, because anything that you use, that strip of sticking plaster, that is called Velcro. Okay, तो इसका आंसर जो है Velcro होना चाहिए. So from
Oh,
what I have understood, ये this is again a very tricky, very time consuming question. और वो मैथ लैब वाला क्वेश्चन का आंसर मुझे अभी भी नहीं मिला. But yes, this one I think I've got it right. So it should be Velcro. All right. Thank you.
again, it is going to take a lot of time to think all those things.
Yes, it is. It took me a lot of time to think. I'm wondering what is going wrong. First I thought Google, then suddenly then I'm like, okay, yes, now I've understood what. So it
Uh,
takes time. Yes.
it takes time. So it has always been lengthy paper, and cutoffs. I don't think there are going to be very high cutoffs for uh,
No.
any of the sections. I would say 4, 5, 6 marks. You are going to clear all the cutoffs. Now, company logos, games, taglines, corporate. So all those questions are entertainment. So basically, GK is all about whether you know it or not, whether you have seen the ads properly or not. I say that anyone who don't skip ads on YouTube, they they generally have pretty good idea about the logos, and
True.
they are already preparing for the exam if you are not skipping the ads on YouTube. But if you are skipping the ads, this might be a little bit trickier because a lot of times YouTube forces you to watch the ad. के ad
Yeah,
देखो.
even now Amazon Prime is giving you ads, so you can watch Prime and get to
ad
know
देखो,
with the
logo देखो.
ads.
So anyone who does that, that that helps out in this particular exam. And in GK, I think 7, 8 questions are always doable if you are a little business enthusiast. You read about
Yes,
business, so 7, 8 क्वेश्चन बहुत आसानी से हो जाते हैं. They don't ask something very tricky. They ask simply कि ये चीज आपने देखी हुई है, whether you can recollect or not. So this
correct.
is that kind of paper. And for decision making, DM Redux is there. Test series 2026 is already live, and online classes for that you can join us at 999. And if you have done well in CAT and you are expecting a call, then I would say definitely it is the time to go for PDB personalized. And all the best for the upcoming exams. Now I think after a couple of hours
Yes.
we have Snap.
Snap.
So all Snap is the first exam, and I would say all the best for Snap and other exams. And we are going to
Yeah,
back
and
at 8 o'clock.
absolutely. We will see you at 8 o'clock for the snap analysis. In the meantime, Shashank and I can also go and write the snap.
Uh, and Vidhi, it is the pattern is 17, 16, 18, then 17, 16, 18. So that is the pattern we are following. तो 17, 17, 17 का डिफरेंस अगर लेंगे तो आगे चल के हो सकता है क्या? लेट मी चेक वेदर आई गॉट इट रॉन्ग और it is always 17. Oh yeah, so basically yes, I made a mistake in this question. If it is 17, so अगर इसको 86 को 87 कर देते हैं, then all the differences become 17, right? So answer should be odd one out is going to be 87 itself. Yes, thank you. And that's it from my end. Take care. Bye bye.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you so much. See you.